I cannot figure this night photography thing out. I'm gonna give Gavin a call.
Ooh. Oh, it's Catherine. Hey up, Catherine, how you doing, love?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How's it going?
Just tremendous, as always, you know me.
What are you up to today, Gavin?
Just looking at a battery-exhausted screen.
As usual. Well, I've got this problem.
Oh, did the gerbil get stuck again?
Not this time. I'm trying to figure out how to do some night photography and it's not working out. My screen is nothing but black and I don't know what to do. Can you help me out?
Oh yeah, well what are you trying to shoot? Is it like Milky Way or is it standard night photography?
Just some nighttime images. I really want to go to Tofino though and see if I can get something good there.
Well, I could, but you know I'm not cheap.
I know you're not cheap, Gavin. We've been through this.
Well, you're not going to fob me off with another Subway sandwich again.
Well, what's it gonna take?
Well, I just bought that Sony 16-35 G Master, and man, it cost me a kidney.
I feel like we can probably work something out.
All right, love. Well, I'll see you on Sunday, and we'll go and visit Tofino.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah. Oh, it's your absolute pleasure.
Oh, hey! I saw that last video of you and Uncle Grumpy in the toilet together. It's so nice that you guys have finally decided to go public.
Okay, bye.
What was that all about?
Oh, you don't watch my videos anyway, do you?
Nah.
Well, then it was nothing. I want to say a big thank you to Kerry Hutchings. Hope you're doing well, Kerry. This is what Fototripper fans do. They send me care packages of chocolate all the way from the UK or Tim Hortons gift cards so that I can get diabetes eating and drinking this crap. So thanks a lot, Kerry. So on the subject of diabetes, let's have another fry.
Dude, will you stop reaching into my Whisker biscuit for your french fries?
Let me stop you right there, Catherine. Whisker biscuits is an inappropriate term, and there will be no more of that genitalia terminology in my videos henceforth.
Why the f not?
Because, Catherine, out of the 1,000 positive comments that I get on my videos, there have been 2 negative comments complaining about the amount of potty humour and references to genitalia, which some people don't find humorous, believe it or not.
I can't believe that that's the case.
That is the case, so I have decided, I have made an executive ruling on the Fototripper board to henceforth remove all toilet humour and all silly visual gags from my videos, and from this moment forward they will be replaced with very artistic, shallow depth of field trail shots of us walking over logs, and maybe a few on-location scenes where we boil up some water or a can of beans, or make some soup on a remote mountaintop. Tofino, one of Canada's most precious jewels, and also one of my personal favourites for landscape photography. This was turning out to be one of those perfect weather days. It was partly sunny in the daytime and then clear skies at night, so there was a good chance of us capturing the stars over Tofino, which is a shot that I've been after for a few years now. Right, so we've just hiked from the car along Cox Bay beach to what we hope is the trailhead to get us to the top of that mountain there. And the view over this whole beach and over Tofino is absolutely spectacular. So that is the goal, so that we can get Catherine that nighttime shot that she wants with the stars.
I can't wait.
So we're not too worried about the size of this little hill here. It's quite small, and I definitely had bigger before.
That's what she said.
Oh, Catherine, you know that this is a zero tolerance for smut channel. That's not going to fly anymore.
But Gavin...
Let's go and boil some water and film some B-roll. Yeah. You probably won't be surprised to learn that this isn't the last slip-up you'll be hearing from Catherine. It was definitely taking her a little bit of time to grasp the newly castrated Fototripper format since my executive decision to squeeze all of the joy out of my vlogs, rendering them flaccid, withered and lifeless, not unlike the batteries for my Sony cameras.
Aw, seriously?
Well, I reckon we're about halfway up the mountain now. I've got a bit of a rest on, And it was muddy, it was rooty, and it was very steep. It's more of a climb than a hike.
Yeah, it is. It's a scramble.
I'm a little bit concerned, though, about getting back down in the dark.
Yeah, it's going to be sketchy for sure. We'll have to take it really slow, be really careful.
Yeah. I'm glad I brought my headlamp. Did you bring your headlamp?
I brought mine. Are you sure you've got yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've got it.
Batteries for the camera?
One time I forgot that. She is never gonna let me live that down, is she? It didn't take long before all of that hard work was rewarded with the first views over the bay towards Tofino. And what a view it was. Very juicy indeed.
How you doing, Gavin?
A little bit hot.
We were almost at the summit where that blasting Pacific wind, which makes Tofino a surfer's paradise, had left its mark on the trees as they grew all twisted and bendy, just how I like them. What's brilliant about this hike is these super gnarly trees, and I want to say that they are cedar trees, but I'm not 100% sure, so hopefully enough detail shows up on the camera that you guys could maybe tell me what you think this is. But they're so twisty and gnarly, and it gets a lot of wind up here, so of course a lot of them are kind of bent over at almost like a 45-degree angle because they're fighting that wind, which just makes everything look even more epic. Finally, we reached the small clearing at the top of the hill where the unobstructed views of Cox Bay were a feast for the eyes. The west coast of Vancouver Island really is my happy place, and when I visit, it always feels like I just got home. So we made it to the top of the hill for the Cox Bay lookout, and it's absolutely bloody brilliant.
It's unreal. I think this is the best spot you've ever taken me to.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that's saying something.
I know.
And it wasn't that hard.
It wasn't terrible. It was steep. It was muddy. I sunk my foot into a pot of mud. But yeah, it wasn't bad at all.
For a composition, it's tempting to shoot super wide and get all of this amazing foreground in the shot. And that would be a nice shot, but for me, personally, and probably for you, I'll show you when we take the shot.
Okay.
It's all about this range of mountains and the way that the light hits it, and then when it gets dark, it's always going to be about the way that the light comes out of the town there and the little hotels that you see and little boats, and that's what makes the shot. The distance and perhaps a bit of this surf and not so much of this foreground here, which is gorgeous and very tempting, but as soon as you feature all of that with a super wide, the really important part of the image just shrinks down to this thin little strip, and to me that's what it's all about. With the light that we've got now and this little bit of cloud, I think we're going to get an epic sunset.
Sweet.
We might get a nice blue hour.
Ooh.
And then if it keeps clear, we'll get that star shot that you're
So
after.
we could get like a 3-for-1 tonight.
We could get a 3-for-1 deal.
That's amazing.
Just like those disgusting pizzas we bought earlier. They really were disgusting pizzas. My heartburn felt like I'd swallowed the sun and then washed it down with sensor cleaning fluid.
So have you got your composition framed up?
Yeah, I've framed up a beautiful shot. It's a panorama,
Nice.
but I'm a bit pissed off with myself. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit annoyed with myself because there's some sensor dust on the sensor and I've forgotten my blower. It needs a right good blow.
Yeah. Needs a blow, does it?
Oh, Catherine, we talked about this. That's no longer acceptable. It's inappropriate for my channel. You know this.
Gavin.
Now I'm going to have to fill this space where there would usually be some toilet humour with a very boring, shallow depth of field B-roll shot, perhaps of us boiling some water and making tea.
That's lame.
That is lame, but think about what you've done, Catherine. Think about what you said. Ah, there's nothing quite like some outdoorsy B-roll, is there? Watch us perform a mundane domestic task like boiling water, made all the more special simply by the fact of having a nice blurry background. The light was looking rather taste delicious, so it was time to get out the camera and start shooting, which brings me on to my first tip of this video. It's always a good idea to use your hand to block out the glare from the sun when it's off to one side. Even if you've got a lens hood, this should eliminate any unwanted lens flares and keep your images nice and clean. Well, I've given up on that whole panorama shot because the light was changing so quickly that by the time I got to the other side of the frame for my pano, my multi-shot pano, they wouldn't stitch very well. And also the problem with doing a pano when you're doing waves like that is the waves are in a different position each time you take a shot. So I decided to go back to the 16-35 and shoot a super wide, and then to get that pano look, I'll probably crop the top and the bottom off and make it look like it's kind of like a 4x2 or a 6x2. They'll still have that look, but I won't have those problems with cloud movement, wave movement, and that rapidly changing light. But the light that we're getting right now is absolutely spectacular, and I can't wait for the sun to go down, and then that afterglow should come. Then we'll get a bit of blue hour, and then if we're lucky and it keeps clear, we might get some stars at night with the lights of Tofino in the background. So that's the plan, fingers crossed.
Here is my first shot of the day, and as I mentioned, I decided to let go of the idea of doing a pano because I just knew that the waves would end up looking weird when I tried to stitch it together. So this is a 4x2 crop of a 3x2 image, and if you look really carefully, you can see the surfers in the water there, hoping to catch a wave just as I was hoping to catch the light. What I love about this image is the way that the ocean spray catches the light. And this is kind of a trademark of Tofino because of that surf. If you come on a really windy day, you'll get even more ocean spray. And this lookout is definitely the best place to get a lovely view of that special kind of Tofino light. I also love how the sun was lighting up the trees in the foreground with that lovely warm glow. With this composition, I wanted to capture everything that's so typically West Coast. You've got the sunset over the horizon, the mountains, the waves, the surfers, the trees, and the spray all in one shot.
Well, that was an absolutely spectacular sunset, and Catherine and I had the whole place to ourselves until about, what would you say, half an hour before sunset?
About that.
And then 35 people showed up, and I guess it's a popular spot. I guess everyone wants to come and see the sun go down over Cox Bay, and I don't blame them. It's absolutely spectacular. But the shot that I got, well, I tried a whole bunch of different shots, and earlier on, you might remember when I said I was going to try a tighter composition and not try and include too much of this foreground. Well, I got those shots, but as the sun has gone down and now we're just getting almost 20 minutes away from blue hour, the sky has just lit up, and there's this gorgeous purple hue, these lovely pink tones that are lighting up all of this foreground, these roots, these trees, these rocks. So I couldn't pass up an opportunity to get a shot where I moved a little bit further back, shot a bit wider, and got the grand scene with some of this epic foreground that leads into the mountains and Tofino in the distance. So I'm very happy with this shot. I'll just keep taking them until this light's gone, but I reckon we've got 10 or 15 minutes more of this stunning light, so we'll try and get those shots, and then after blue hour, Catherine finally gets her shot that she wanted, which is the night sky over Tofino. So fingers crossed that all works out. So what I'm doing with this shot is I'm focus stacking this foreground, and I just touched my tripod, so I'll have to redo that shot. I'm shooting at f8. It's getting a little bit dark now, so I'm opening up the aperture to things like f8, and I'm focusing on this foreground first, and then I'll take another shot focusing on the background, and then I'll bracket the dynamic range for the background. So that's my foreground shot done. And what's really good right now is in the distance there are lots of lights in Tofino that I can use as focus points, and they show up really good in live view. I'll start taking those shots, and then I'll bracket for that little bit of really bright sunlight that we've still got in the sky.
Like I just said, with this kind of atmospheric light, I simply couldn't resist pulling the camera back to reveal some of that fascinating foreground and those delicious colours that paint the scene. Now, I mentioned there that I opened up the aperture to f8 because it was starting to get a little dark, but usually when I'm focus stacking a foreground, I do prefer to have a little bit more depth of field, so I'll often use narrower apertures like f11 or f16 just to make the focus stack knit together a bit more seamlessly.
Just look at those layers upon layers of coastal mountains. And that's one of the very first things that I noticed about British Columbia when I first came to visit so many years ago. It kind of looks like a watercolour painting with those soft pastel tones. I wouldn't quite call this a blue hour shot because there was still so much warmth of colour from the sunset. It's more of an afterglow shot, which I find is always much more atmospheric and cinematic than sunset. Now, I would have been happy with just these two images, but there was still more to come as the stars finally began to sparkle. The moment was fast approaching where Catherine would finally get that shot of the stars over Tofino. But I reckon she only comes on these adventures to get me to shoot images of her in cool places like this. I processed this nighttime image using Gavin's Milky Way Lightroom presets, which you can download right now from the Fototripper store. And if you order today, you can get 20% off with the coupon code YT20. There's a link in the description below and in the card. This shot was a 15-second exposure with an aperture of f2.8 at ISO 500 and a focal length of 16mm. And Catherine is really good at keeping very still during long exposures to minimise that motion blur. And finally, after years of waiting for the ideal conditions, I got my shot of the stars over Tofino. I was a very happy photo tripper. So with this shot, I'm actually looking northwest, and this is the opposite direction to what most astrophotographers are trying to capture right now, which would be the galactic core. And I think this just goes to show that nightscapes should be more about what's under the stars than the stars themselves. Yes, it's great to have that super bright galactic core in your astrophotography shots, but don't let that limit your nightscapes purely to scenes that face towards the galactic core, because, as with all kinds of photography, sometimes the best shot is often the one that is right behind you.
Right, I reckon we got the shot. Did you learn something there?
I definitely learned some stuff. I'm not quite sure. I think I got a shot, but it's really hard for me to tell. I'm getting used to like the dark lens.
I know you got a shot.
Excellent.
It was brilliant.
Excellent.
So we got some Milky Way, we got the lights of Tofino, we got that bit of surf. Oh, talking about the surf, I'm a little bit concerned that the tide has come in and we might not make it off this mountain.
Yeah, we might be stuck here.
Till like
dawn.
Till sunrise?
Yeah.
Oh, let's just shoot the sunrise.
Yay, perfect.
Oh God. All right, should we do it? Head down?
Yeah, let's go find out.
Let's see if we have to swim.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the size of that. It's quite a small one. I've definitely climbed much bigger before.
That's what she said. Oh, I cannot figure that.
That was so panto. I loved it. Sorry. Do it again.
I loved it, but I can't use it. Oh!
You sound as if someone just kicked you up the bum.
Oh!
Okay, maybe drop the drop the noise of something being inserted into you. Oh, did the gerbil get stuck again? Oh yeah, did the gerbil get stuck again?